Welcome to this explainer. If you're aiming for absolute top marks in Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 9706, you are in exactly the right place. Grab your notebooks, because today we are cracking open a highly strategic masterclass. We're essentially hacking the Cambridge Examiner's playbook, specifically focusing on the preparation of ledger accounts. Now, I've spent years analyzing real examiner reports, and let me tell you, there are specific, predictable places where smart students literally throw marks out the window. We're going to look at exactly how examiners assess your work under the microscope, where the hidden method marks are buried, and why a select few candidates consistently break into those elite top-scoring bands, while others, who frankly know the math just as well, get left behind. We are putting on the examiner's lens today to deconstruct exactly what goes wrong in the heat of the exam room, and more importantly, how you can build a bulletproof strategy to prevent it.
Look at this number, 15%. The sheer weight of this topic is absolutely incredible. The preparation of ledger accounts represents approximately 15% of the total marks in your Paper 2 exam. That is a massive chunk of your final grade wrapped up in a single fundamental accounting process. This isn't just some minor, passing topic you can afford to gloss over or cram the night before. This is a high-stakes battleground where your final grade is heavily decided. Mastering this means securing a massive foundational advantage before you even look at the rest of the paper. Think about those complex, high-tariff questions, the ones worth anywhere from 9 to 15 marks. When a question is carrying that much weight, you simply cannot afford a surface-level understanding. You need a structural, analytical approach that guarantees you are scooping up every single available mark, right from the opening balance to the final evaluative statement.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a rigorous structural game plan today. 1. The 15% rule. 2. Core accounting principles. 3. The procedural framework. 4. Evaluation and critical analysis. And finally, 5. Top examiner pitfalls.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 15% rule, and specifically, why method marks matter.
A lot of students look at ledger accounts and see a purely mathematical problem. They think it's all about getting that final balance right, and if they mess up a single calculator punch early on, they assume they've totally bombed that entire 15%. But the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the method mark strategy. Examiners are actively hunting for method marks. This means you're awarded points for demonstrating the correct procedural steps and logical process, even if your final mathematical answer is totally wrong. But here's the secret. To unlock these marks, especially in the written elements, you have to understand command word anatomy. You have to deeply contrast what the examiner is asking. If the question says analyze, you are breaking down the ledger data into its component parts. If it says evaluate, you are doing something entirely different. You are making a judgment on that data. Explain requires you to clarify a process, but to what extent demands an argument weighing both sides of an accounting policy. I always use a mental highlighter here. Isolate the command word, identify the content knowledge acquired, and pinpoint the hidden constraints of the prompt. Your visible logic and your workings are your safety net.
Moving right along into Section 2, Core Accounting Principles, Building the Foundation.
Building a solid foundation here is what separates passing grades from exceptional ones. I want to introduce you to two of my top scholars to illustrate this, Alex and Sam. We were in our digital studies suite last week, looking at a brutally complex ledger question. Alex is highly technical, absolutely excels at formulas and facts, but struggles when a question gets open-ended. Sam, on the other hand, is a creative thinker, amazing at forming arguments, but sometimes lacks structural precision and time management. When we looked at this quote from the principal examiner reports about cross-topic connections, Alex immediately pushed for a purely factual approach. Let's just get the T account perfectly balanced, Alex said. But Sam argued for a broader conceptual perspective, pointing out, wait, if we don't link this bad debt entry directly to how it cascades into the income statement, we aren't actually answering the prompt. And Sam hit the nail on the head. Top-scoring candidates do not view ledger accounts in a vacuum. You have to connect the dots across the syllabus to elevate your answer.
This brings us perfectly to Section 3, the procedural framework, 6 steps to execution.
So let's look at the exact technical methodology Alex and Sam debated. This is the 6-step sequence Cambridge examiners are desperately hoping to see. 1. Deconstruct the question. 2. Extract relevant data. 3. Select the analytical framework. 4. Execute with clear notation. 5. Verify results. And 6. Present with correct terminology. In our session, Alex and Sam had a massive debate on how to unlock the top-tier marking bands using this framework, what we call assessment objectives AO1, AO2, and AO3. Alex wanted to speedrun steps 1 and 2, just dumping data onto the page to get the knowledge marks, or AO1. But Sam stopped the session and challenged Alex's interpretation. If we just dump the data, we aren't showing application, which is AO2, and we definitely aren't hitting AO3, which requires us to evaluate the analytical framework we selected. It was a brilliant peer intervention. You have to realize that this 6-step framework isn't just a list. It is a ladder to climb through the assessment objectives. Freestyle this sequence and you drop easy marks. Follow it systematically and you prove to the examiner that you have total command over the accounting process.
Let's drill down into that final presentation phase. Proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotation. Now, before we look at a major roadblock you will definitely face here, I want to quickly pause our session. If you are serious about mastering these high-level strategies, you need to subscribe to the channel Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE. Go ahead and click that subscribe button popping up on your screen right now, and make sure you enable all notifications so you hit that bell icon. You do not want to miss our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. Okay, back to Alex and Sam. They were drafting a model response paragraph by paragraph, and they hit a massive roadblock regarding formatting and paragraph linking. They were getting bogged down, losing track of time, and using sloppy language. So I used a picture-in-picture feature to pause their session and stepped in with a cognitive strategy to get them unstuck. I told them, stop looking at the math and look at the language of the business. If you have the right numbers but failed to label your balances properly, using casual language instead of precise terms like balance brought down, you were throwing away easy marks.
Section 4. Evaluation and Critical Analysis. Unlocking Top Tiers.
If you want to move from a standard B to an elite A or A star, this is exactly where you separate yourself from the pack. After I paused Alex and Sam's session, we completely rewrote their flawed, mediocre section out loud. We used this 3-part problem-solving framework. First, deconstruct. Second, solve. Third, evaluate. We transitioned their answer from a messy, disorganized data dump into a flawless, full-mark response simply by forcing every point through Step 3, evaluation. The top tiers are not just about doing the math, they are about evaluating the evidence. You have to check for reasonableness, you have to openly question the assumptions being made in the data provided, and you absolutely must consider alternative interpretations before making justified recommendations. This is where Alex finally had a breakthrough, realizing that a mathematically perfect ledger is utterly useless if you can't evaluate what those numbers actually mean for the business's future. I want to turn this into an interactive, visual workshop right now. Think of this as our pause and practice segment. Scene 1. Let's imagine a complex high-tariff ledger data source on the screen. If you're watching, I want you to literally pause the video for a 60-second visual countdown and look at this tiered table. Notice how it builds across the marking bands. At the bottom, the descriptive level. This is just identifying basic given data. That gets you passing. To level up, you hit the analytical band, breaking data into logical steps and interpreting relationships. But to hit the absolute top tier, you must be evaluative. That means actively questioning assumptions, considering perspectives, and justifying decisions. During our 60-second exercise, Sam realized that most of their previous answers were getting stuck right in the middle at the analytical tier. They were interpreting the relationships, sure, but they weren't taking that vital leap to justify the ultimate financial decisions based on the ledger balances. You must physically write down your justifications to access the evaluative tier.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Top Examiner Pitfalls, where candidates lose marks.
Let's move into Scene 2 of our workshop, Spot the Flaw. I want you to look at this comparison drawn directly from the post-game analysis of the principal examiner reports. On the left, we have the ultimate classic trap, the generic answer. Vague, lacking detail, relying entirely on memorized textbook definitions. On the right, the context-specific answer. I tasked Alex and Sam to find the critical errors in a poorly written student answer that looked exactly like the left side. The student had perfectly defined depreciation, but scored 0 marks for evaluation. Why? Because the examiner's actual expectation is a meticulously linked, context-specific answer. Every single point you make, every ledger balance you interpret must be uniquely tied to the specific scenario, the specific business, and the exact data points given in that particular exam question. If your answer could logically apply to any generic business on the planet, it is simply not good enough to get those top marks. Let me systematically highlight and annotate exactly what Alex and Sam found during our Spot the Flaw exercise. Here are the 3 traps set by examiners that candidates fall into every single year. 1. Vague answers lacking specific detail. 2. Forgetting to check format and presentation. 3. Answers not specific to the given context. This is your quick-fire warning checklist.
In the heat of the moment, when you have 5 minutes left on the clock and the invigilator is pacing the room, you need to run through this. Are your conclusions floating in the air, or are they deeply anchored in the business's reality? Did you actually write balance C/N and balance B/AND correctly, or did you rush it? Knowing these traps is your last line of defense against dropping silly, entirely preventable marks.
At the end of our session, Alex and Sam shared their personal breakthroughs. Alex realized that formatting isn't just decoration, it's a structural requirement for method marks. Sam realized that timing their open-ended arguments to the strict marking bands saved them from wandering off topic. So I want to synthesize this entire masterclass into 3 core memorable pillars for you. First, the 3-step question scan. Always highlight your command words before you even touch a calculator. Second, the paragraph balance formula. Ensure every paragraph moves from descriptive to analytical to heavily evaluative. And third, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Actively hunting for those 3 pitfalls we just discussed. To help you execute this, create a personalized acronym for the factors affecting the preparation of ledger accounts. Write it at the top of your exam paper the second you sit down, so you consistently recall these crucial steps without freezing up.
As we wrap up this strategic explainer, I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful summary drawn straight from the syllabus guidelines. Top-performing students exhibit connected, conceptual understanding transferable to unfamiliar contexts. True mastery isn't about rote math. It's not about perfectly memorizing a single textbook problem and hoping it shows up on the paper. It is all about conceptual adaptability. It's about taking these core principles, the 6-step procedural framework, and the evaluative mindset, and applying them confidently to a completely bizarre business scenario you have never seen before in your life. That is what makes an elite accounting student.
So, I am leaving you with a direct challenge. When you sit down tonight to tackle your next practice past paper, ask yourself, will your ledger account just be a descriptive math problem where you cross your fingers and hope the numbers balance? Or will you apply this entire analytical framework to create an evaluative, context-specific masterpiece that practically forces the examiner to award you full marks? The strategy is completely in your hands now. Before you go, remember that crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, high-level strategy. You need to hit that subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future exam hacks, and drop down into the comments right now and type out your target grade so we can hold you accountable. The visual end screen is popping up now with some of our best previous videos. Click one to keep studying, and I will see you in the next masterclass.